Kawhi Leonard in 2019 is quite literally the best example we have of a team renting a superstar for one season, winning a championship, and then dipping. In 2018, Kawhi Leonard would request a trade out of the San Antonio Spurs. Now, at the time, nobody knew why he wanted to do this. The San Antonio Spurs were a team with a bright future, with players like DeJounte Murray and Davis Bertans being pretty young. Another thing that shocked people is that, well, it wasn't very long ago the Spurs were getting playoff success. They had just made it to the Western Conference Finals in 2017. Although they got swept, they were showing potential that they could be a threat in the playoffs still, even after Tim Duncan retired. However, the real reason would come about, people would find out that he was displeased with how San Antonio handled his quad injury. When Kawhi Leonard put his trade demand out there, he made it very clear he wanted to go to the Lakers. But his preference really didn't make a difference because it turned out in July of 2018, the San Antonio Spurs would trade Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green to the Raptors for DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl. Now, the Toronto Raptors were mediocre for a majority of their franchise history, snagging a few seasons over 40 wins. Besides that, they were overall average. They would have their first ever substantial playoff run in the 2015-16 NBA season whenever they would face off against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals. They would drop the first two games of the series. However, whenever Kyrie Irving went 3 of 14 from the field, they would win Game 3. They would win Game 4 whenever Kyle Lowry would score 35 and DeMar DeRozan would go off for 32. However, the Cavaliers would have the last laugh in that series because they would end up winning the final two games. For the Raptors, this was their first time in their entire franchise history that they would have a consistent superstar that has proven multiple times that he can win under any circumstance. In Kawhi Leonard's one-and-done year with the Toronto Raptors, he would average a smooth 26.6 points, 7.3 rebounds, 3.3 assists, nearly 2 steals, and 0.4 blocks. After snagging multiple double-digit point victories, the Toronto Raptors would be 20-5 after the first 25 games of the season. At the All-Star break, they would be 43-16, and they were looking like they were going to be favorites to go far in the playoffs. Besides the Milwaukee Bucks being 43-14, they were the best team in the entire league. The Toronto Raptors would finish with an end-of-season record being 58-24 and would end up being the second seed. Despite both Pascal Siakam and Kawhi Leonard having a great Game 1, they would drop Game 1 101-104 against the Orlando Magic. Kawhi Leonard would play absolutely out of his mind in Game 2 whenever he would score 37 points, and the Toronto Raptors would have 26 to the Magic's 18 in the first quarter alone. They would win 111-82. And just like that, they had the advantage now being up 3-1 in the first round against the Magic. They would end up taking the series after Kawhi Leonard would score 27 points and 7 rebounds in Game 5, and they would move on to face the Philadelphia 76ers, arguably their most memorable matchup out of the entire playoffs. After Kawhi Leonard would score 45 points and 11 rebounds, 1 block, 2 steals, and 2 assists in Game 1, they would win 108-95. After a 35-point game by Kawhi Leonard in Game 2 and a 33-point game by him in Game 3, it didn't matter because the 76ers would take the next two games. Now the 76ers were up 2-1, and they had all the momentum going into Game 4. Kawhi Leonard was angry they took those last two games, and it was his time to take revenge. He would score 39 points and 14 rebounds, along with having 22 points alone in the second half, and a 101-96 Toronto Raptors victory. In a game that saw 6 Toronto Raptors go over double digits and nearly 3 Toronto Raptors being over 20 points, the Raptors would blow out the 76ers 125-89 after a Kawhi Leonard 21 points and 13 rebounds. In a winner-go-home Game 6, Jimmy Butler would have 25 points and Ben Simmons would have 21 points, and the 76ers would bounce back 112-101, tying the series at 3 apiece. Throughout this game, there were several different times the Raptors were ahead by a decent margin. They were up 24-13, and after a few three-pointers by the 76ers, they were up only 24-21. The Raptors would outscore the 76ers in the first quarter, 18-13, but then the Philadelphia 76ers would outscore the Raptors 27-26 in the second alone. With 4.2 seconds to go in the fourth quarter, it looked like this game was going to go ahead and go to overtime, and this is going to be decided in OT. They would have to get the ball into the hands of their star player, Kawhi Leonard, if they had any hopes of doing anything, and well, needless to say, they did just that.
Inbounder here if you're Philly.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger? Game! Series! Toronto has won!
that would be the shot that would conclude the Eastern Conference semifinals, Game 7. The semifinals. Imagine what's going to happen in the conference finals against the MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo. Oh, that was kind of quick. At this point, every single person, unless you were a Milwaukee Bucks fan, was telling every single person you knew, hey, this Raptors team is a big deal. They can make it to the finals and potentially win it. It was just a matter of 4, 5, 6, or 7 games, however many it takes for them to win 4 games. Now, while yes, it is true that Kawhi Leonard had an absolutely dominant series, so did Giannis. Like, Giannis had just won the MVP. He was going into this game saying, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. I'm going to go to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1971 for my franchise. And he was averaging around 23 points and 13 rebounds a game, along with 5 assists, 2 steals, and nearly 3 blocks. Along with that, Giannis would have an insane defensive Game 3, having 23 rebounds, 1 steal, and 4 blocks. But all in all, it would not be enough for the Milwaukee Bucks to make it to the NBA Finals, as Kawhi Leonard would have an insane Game 6, having 27 points, 17 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks, only to Giannis's 21 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. A lot of people tend to put an asterisk on the Toronto Raptors' 2019 NBA Finals win over the Golden State Warriors because Kevin Durant got injured and Klay Thompson got injured. But I don't think that's fair because it's really downplaying how good of a series Kawhi Leonard had. I mean, for instance, in the game-deciding series, he had 22 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. And obviously, everyone remembers the notorious Toronto Raptors crowd that was cheering whenever Kevin Durant got injured, but we're not going to talk about that right now. In the 2019 NBA Finals, Kawhi Leonard would average 28.5 points per game, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 1.2 blocks. This is the last time Kawhi Leonard would be in a Raptors uniform.
Official. Now the Warriors just inbound, and that's it. There's a new NBA champion, and it's a team from Toronto, Canada. We, the North, are now we, the champions, the Raptors, the 2019.
What do you make of this move by Kawhi, not only going to the Clippers, but also getting Paul George to leave the Thunder and join him?
Well, I think it was a power move of epic proportions.